In the past, I've played a number of roguelike games. Dead Cells, Hades, and that's basically it. So I'm not the best at them, but I have fun anyway. And I've wasted countless hours playing Pokémon, so naturally, when the opportunity came to mix those two together in Pokémon Emerald Rogue, I really wanted to give it a try. This video shows my first attempt at beating the game as a hardcore Nuzlocke. I didn't watch anyone else's playthroughs or look anything up, so I'll learn the mechanics and the rules as I go, and hopefully not die as often as I did in Dead Cells, because that was really rough. In this game, you can choose between a number of characters and even change their skin tone and clothing color. After exiting from the moving van, this Scott guy gives me a brief introduction and tells me to find Professor Birch. Birch offers me one of 3 starter Pokemon, like normal, but these aren't normal choices. There's a Drowsy, Survivor, and Eevee. I was leaning towards Survivor because he's pretty strong early game, but I obviously go with Eevee because he is awesome. Birch explains how the game works about randomly generated routes and trainer battles. Every time I lose, I'll come back to this hub area and start over. Eevee can apparently evolve into Espeon with the Sunstone, so obviously that is my goal. Before officially starting, I find the options tent and decide to leave everything as is for my first run. I'll make it harder next time, okay? With that, it's time to start my adventure. So each of these objects, like the tree and the rock, are a unique, randomly generated route. They give you a little hint about the type of Pokemon you'll find there, as well as the difficulty, but I didn't really understand that at first, so it seemed a bit like gibberish. I just go with average, like me. The very first encounter here is an Aerodactyl, who I get with a single Pokeball. Now I choose to not nickname these guys, breaking the cardinal Nuzlocke rule, I know. I'm just not clever enough to come up with enough names for all the dead Pokemon I'm sure to have. One thing that was surprising is how quickly you level up after each battle. It does make sense though because of the game mechanics and how fast these runs are supposed to be. There's also a ton of berries in this game, so I always have at least something for my guys to hold. I have my first trainer battle, and I win with a few tackles, gaining a ton of levels again. I find the cave exit here and get to pick from 2 new routes. This time I opt for Rough, hoping for better Pokemon, and Execute is not who I had in mind. But I suppose I'll take him because he's better than nobody. The next route options are people who appear to be shops. I feel like I already got plenty of items, so I opt for another encounter instead, getting a Barboach here. And then, a mighty trainer is hiding under this Pokeball pillow. I don't know much about this game, but I'm pretty sure this is a gym leader battle. Nurse Joy doesn't deserve her name because she's a jerk, and this other lady tells me about the level cap, which I've already hit. In this game, the Hoenn gym leader orders are completely random, so there's no saying who I'm going to fight. And just to keep the suspense going, how about we take a break and talk about this video's sponsor, Nuzlocke Joe. This guy is a small YouTuber who's been making Pokemon Challenge videos for about a year and really needs your help to grow. So if you want to support me, him, then subscribe to the channel and consider checking out his Patreon and YouTube memberships. Okay, back to the video. Turns out, it's Winona and her flying types. It's a good thing I've got an Aerodactyl, too bad he doesn't actually have any rock moves. Murkrow hits a crit pursuit, doing a ton of damage before falling to wing attacks. Then Yanma and Tropius both fall to a couple of wing attacks. Looks like I didn't need any rock moves, and I win the first badge. Beating a boss on my first try? I'm already doing way better than my first Dead Cells run. That was embarrassing. And I get cut, so no little trees can stand up to me anymore. I catch a Metatite and enter a rest stop for the first time, where I find this guy who wants to steal my Pokemon. And he wants me to pay him for the privilege? No thank you. These guys sell some pretty awesome items, but I don't have much money. There's also a bunch of move tutors here who I can't really afford. Turns out, you need money to get stuff in this capitalistic society? Who knew? Before long, it's time for another gym battle, this time against Roxanne. Leading with Aerodactyl worked out so well last time, so let's do it again. I do have Ancient Power now, so that's nice. Execute comes out against the Corsola to Bullet Seed. Anticipating a fire move by this Solrock, out comes Barboach on a Rock Slide. Alright, after a Water Pulse, Solrock flinches Barboach, and she enters the Danger Zone. I don't want to lose anybody here, but if I do, it might as well be this fish. her sacrifice lets Execute come out to get flinched and also die. Stupid rock polished son. Aerodactyl should outspeed, but fails to kill with Ancient Power, getting the Omni Boost, which just manages to save his life. Well, this fight is not going well, but it's finally time for the sun to set. Meditite comes out and fails to defeat this Amaranth, as does the Eevee, who also dies. At least Aerodactyl can come in to mop up this mess. I had been feeling good about my chances 2 minutes ago, but now, with 3 Pokemon dead, my team is a shadow of its former self. By the way, dead Pokemon are automatically removed from your party, so you're basically forced to do a Nuzlocke. As if sensing my mood, I am invited to play a game show, where I have to pick between 2 Pokeballs 4 times. It does make me $10,000 richer, but trades away both of my Pokemon in place of Growlithe, who's pretty cool, and Kabuto. On a spooky route, I catch a Gligar, who is a pale imitation of my rock-flying fossil. I think I'll miss him most of all. Before the next gym, I get to a full rest stop for the first time, which has a ton of marts where I can sell all the crap I don't want. And with that, I can finally afford some move tutors. Also, I find out this is where you can get evolution stones, so if Eevee hadn't died, he could have become a Vaporeon. Oh well. Since I only had one real route this time, I'm under the level cap, but this lady kindly allows me to use her Chansey like a punching bag to level up. Next up in the Gym Leader Gauntlet is Flannery. Growlithe does some damage, but is confused by his fellow fire Pokemon. Kabuto, with a priority Aqua Jet, has no such qualms. Her Growlithe has Wild Charge, apparently, so I avoid the second hit using Gligar. Anticipating a fire move, Kabuto comes back out to take it and Aqua Jets the Growlithe. After resetting his attack with that swap out, a single Aqua Jet takes out the Camerupt. Last is Quilava, who starts with a Defense Curl, which honestly is terrifying because I am sure a rollout is coming next. I've played enough Pokemon, I know how this works. After some debate, I decide to leave Growlithe in on another Defense Curl. And then he starts using Swift. Okay, maybe there's no rollout coming? That is a huge relief. After a few flamethrowers, Kabuto comes back out to Aqua Jet, winning me the 3rd badge. I was pretty sure Growlithe was a goner here, but I guess not. I catch a Shedinja and get the first evolution of the run, who I actually do like now that he's evolved. After all, he survives a run-in with a speed boost solar beaming Blaziken. On the next route, I encounter Hitmonchan, who's actually pretty decent if he has the Iron Fist ability. The only problem is, I assume he's going to use a fighting move, so I pivot to Gligar on a 4 times effective Ice Punch. I eventually do manage to catch him, but only after he kills Shedinja too. I don't even want this guy anymore. His Iron Fists are soaked in blood. The next gym leader battle is against Norman. This battle starts off well enough, as Kecleon falls in 2 hits, until Tauros earthquakes Kabutops, and my fighting Pokemon has 0 fighting moves. There wasn't a move tutor after I caught him, so that's fun. The Zangoose survives my first Thunder Punch and is toxic, which obviously means a Facade Sweep is imminent. And that's exactly what happens, so I lose. That's okay, I didn't really expect to win first try anyway, so we'll be fine. I do get a ton of monies and perks for getting that far at least. After exploring the new things added to the hub, I jump right into round 2. By the way, my Eevee comes back to life, but he's the only Pokemon I get to keep after each attempt. This time, my first encounter is a freaking Heracross, and I love this little bug. He may not have guts, but he's still awesome. As is the Houndour I get next. Alright guys, I can feel it in my bones. This is the run that's going to do it. In the next rest stop, I find the game show guy who, again, wants to take my Pokemon, but there is no way I'm falling for that crap. I got these guys fair and square. I can also buy an electric rock that I shove into Eevee's face to evolve him. He's not the evolution I really wanted, but he's still cool. I sell a ton of items till I can afford to tutor Heracross and give him an actual fighting move, just in case we have Norman again. Seems like a good idea. I also buy an Adamant to use on Heracross. Basically, I'm going all out on this little bug, so hopefully he doesn't die. And then I immediately face Flannery. So my Heracross baits out a fire move, allowing Houndour to get a flash fire boost. I mean, Ember is still pretty weak, but Growlithe doesn't do anything to me. After a bit of swapping to reset his defense stat, Growlithe is a goner. Ember is even weaker on the Torkoal, but this turtle just opts to withdraw 5 times in a row, so I guess he couldn't hurt me either. Last is Magby, who surprisingly outspeeds, and actually does hit with some feint attacks, but it's too little, too late. Get it, because he's a baby? The first badge is now mine for the second time. In another game show, I lose a bit of money, but end up winning a Master Ball. Hopefully I can actually muster up the courage to use it here, instead of saving it for a Pokemon that I never see. Using a Pokeball, I catch a Shellder, who has Skill Link, so I'm actually really excited to use this guy. Right before the next gym, Houndour evolves, and I buy a black belt to keep up Heracross's imaginary pants. The gym leader in question is Roxanne, so it's a good thing I'm always leading with Heracross. A number of these Pokemon probably have Sturdy, but with Arm Thrust, it doesn't matter. He defeats all of her Pokemon, no sweat, winning me another badge. Miltank joins the team, and her ability to heal other Pokemon comes in handy quite a bit. And a Clamperl, who I don't really care about, tags along too. With that full team of 6 Pokemon, for the first time, I am challenged by Brawly. But Heracross has Aerial Ace, so things are going pretty well. Though his Heracross does outspeed, and gets a critical Stone Edge. And since I don't want to risk Heracross to a possible Hitmonchan Fire Punch, Clamperl comes out on a Drain Punch, and swaps to Jolteon to Paralyze. I swap back to Clamperl, making a sacrifice, so I can bring out Shellder. He may be weak to fighting, but I'm hoping he can win with a Never Melt Ice Icicle Spear. And he can, because Hitmonchan is fully paralyzed. Nice. As a replacement for Clamperl, I find a Marshtomp who is objectively superior in every way, especially once he evolves. This PC leads me to a new place called the Pokemon Lab. Apparently, Professor Birch caught some of the dead Pokemon, because there ain't no rest for the wicked, and even though I never used him, Sir Viper is here too. But since I already have a full team of 6 Pokemon, I would need to release someone to get a new one. Yeah, no thank you. My team feels pretty solid as is. As proof, let's go defeat Norman. As always, I have Heracross out in front, so this should be simple. A single Brick Break takes out every Pokemon on his team, and I'm only hit because of a Kangaskhan's Fake Out. Maybe I should mix things up for the next gym and not lead with Heracross, because this is just too easy. I catch a Gardevoir, but again, need to make some sort of sacrifice. I like all of my Pokemon, but a current Gardevoir is certainly better than a hypothetical Cloyster, even one with Skill Link. So, goodbye Shellder, you will be missed. I end up in an ice cave, which is a good thing, because without ice puzzles, it wouldn't be a real Pokemon game. Oh yeah, and I get 3 Assault Vests, which is freaking awesome. I know I said I'd mix things up here, but Heracross just doesn't want to share. He's a bit selfish. After destroying Watson's first 3 Pokemon, he does finally decide to share the load as I bring out Swampert to Earthquake the Jolteon and the Electabuzz too. Even in a roguelike, Watson's natural predator, the Mudkip line, won't leave him alone. After that, I have my first strong trainer encounter. As you can probably tell from the sprite, he is me with the exact same team, just lower level Pokemon. Because I know what movesets he has, this is a really simple fight. It's almost like a regular Nuzlocke where I have the trainer guide. He offers me a choice between 2 Pokemon, which is confusing, until I realize he wants to give me one of them. But I already have both of them, so what's the point? Right before the next gym, I find out that I am loaded, so why not drop 6,000 on an ability patch to give Heracross freaking Moxie? As if this bug couldn't get any better. For once though, I decide to not lead with Heracross, and it ends up being a mistake. Not because of the execute, Houndour gets a nasty plot and defeats him easily enough. No, the problem is Starmie, who I thought Doomdog could handle with a Sludge Bomb, because he doesn't have Dark Pulse, but Starmie barely survives and scalds my dog to death. At least Starmie then falls to poison damage. I send out the Choice Specs Gardevoir, who Moonblasts through the rest of Liza's Pokemon, though the Slowking at the end takes a few turns. It's been a while since we lost somebody important, so I feel a bit of a hole here. I actually really like Houndour too. At this point, I see a new icon that I obviously want to check out. It turns out it's a strong Pokemon encounter home to Regirock, but my recording actually failed to show this part. Which sucks, because I catch that rock on turn 1 with a quick ball. It was awesome, so your life is worse off for not having seen it. Sorry about that. Anyway, looking at the badges I have, we're left with either Winona or Juan. Either way, Jolteon has the advantage, so let's put him in front. And it's Juan. Politoed takes 2 discharges and hits with a Scald, but the rest of Wallace's team falls in a single discharge each. At least they would, if Cloyster didn't have a Focus Sash. So he survives and kills my starter. He's been with me for so long too. That's rough, buddy. I haven't really shown off my Moxie Heracross yet, so here he is. Thankfully, the Love Disc misses Hydro Pump, or that could have been bad. I forgot about Swift Swim, but the only swimming that this guy will do from now on will be with the fishes. I need a replacement for Jolteon, and I figured that a Gloomy route sounds like Gloom, who's a grass type, so maybe I can get grass Pokemon here? Somehow, my reasoning was flawed. I know, I'm surprised too, because the first encounter is an Illumise, who I really don't want. But then, I encounter a strong trainer who is an old grass guy, and after aerial acing through his entire team with my Moxie Heracross, I get leftovers, which is awesome, and steal his Tropius. Not too bad. For the last gym leader, I lead with Gardevoir just to see what she can do, and thankfully, it's Altaria, so a Moonblast takes it out. Skarmory comes out next, and as I swap to Swampert, she pulls out a freaking Rayquaza. Are you kidding me right now? Hoping for a Dragon move, I swap back into Gardevoir on a Dragon Dance, and I miss a Moonblast as he flies. Okay, Regirock can take the fly and hits with a Rock Tomb. After another fly, my Rock thankfully defeats Rayquaza. That was quite terrifying. Miltank comes out on the Ledian, and after a Defense Curl and healing, starts with a Rollout. I hope I don't regret this, and I don't, as the Murkrow, Jumpluff, and Skarmory all get rolled on. It's nice to be on this end of the rolling Demon Cow for once. Now that I have all 8 badges, I'm guessing it's Elite 4 time. But once again, the order is certainly mixed up. Then, some random trainer has both a Latios and a Jirachi. What is going on here? Everyone is getting awesome legendaries.
I got a rock.
Oh, and Team Magma managed to catch a freaking Ho-Oh and an Entei. This just isn't fair. But that's enough complaining, let's head to the first Elite Four member, Phoebe. So for once, leading with Heracross may not have been the best move. He eventually does take out the Dusclops after some annoying pain splits, and then gets an easy Shedinja kill. I wanted to show off Tropius' Harvester ability, but Sableye just knocks my Citrus Berry right off. That was rude. A few Dragon Dances and Synthesizers later, Tropius is ready to sweep this team, until Beedrill hangs on with a Focus Sash and endeavors Tropius down to 1 HP. A berry might have been useful here. I pivot to an Assault Vest Regirock on the Gengar, and assuming he doesn't have Levitate, take him out with a Bulldoze after a few hits. Venomoth survives the Rock Tomb, so I bring out my Cow to Body Slam the bug. This wins me an Elite Badge, whatever that is. Here's another new icon on the route selection map that ends up being a Dark Deal. I am offered 3 choices, so I assume that if I pick one, I'll get something bad too. I go for the Priority Charm, because the other ones seem kind of useless at this point in the game, and get the Embargo Curse. Speaking of useless, this curse prevents me from using items in battle. Oh no, whatever will I do? Immediately after that, I find the home of a strong Pokemon, which is exciting because Regirock was in a place kinda like this. And the strong Pokemon is a Nosepass. Gross. He doesn't even have his hidden ability, so what's so strong about him? Since 2 of the remaining Elite Four members are weak to fighting, I lead with Heracross, surprise surprise, and it's Drake, who leads with Altaria. That's perfect. I swap to Regirock to tank a few hits and responds with Ice Punch. I learned this move specifically for flying dragons. Or ground dragons. Corsalamence is going to be too strong for me, so out comes the Cow on an Outrage, who is promptly replaced by Gardevoir. With a choice specs, the Moonblast should certainly kill the Rayquaza that Drake swaps in. Whoa, that was nice, actually. And then my Priority Charm activates, so the Salamence falls too. Dragonite survives the hit, surprisingly, and deals a ton of damage with Earthquake before dying. I don't want to risk dying to Latios, so Swampert comes out on a Thunderbolt. That was pure luck. And he might be Choice Specked or Scarved, because Latios just keeps Thunderbolting right into the grave. Alright, 2 Elite Four down, only 2 to go. And then the champion. After breaking into Breloom's home, and failing to catch him with a Quick Ball, my team is doing okay as is. I don't need no Fighting Mushroom. The third Elite Four member is Glacia, which is exactly where she should be. Her Glalie has a Focus Sash and does some damage to Heracross, but still gives him an attack boost. Cloyster has high enough defense to warrant a close combat, but the Sneasel 100% will outspeed. Miltank gets triple axled multiple times, but manages a defense curl, and after drinking her own milk, starts a rollout. It's a bit risky, I know, but once again, it pays off, as Miltank rolls on the rest of Glacia's Pokémon. Good thing they didn't have more Focus Sashes, huh? But then, it's not long before tragedy strikes in the form of a shiny Shuckle. This is an issue because I like Shuckle, and obviously I have to get him. He's blue for shuck's sake. A single Quick Ball catches him, and now I have to throw somebody away. Objectively, I should probably get rid of Regirock because these guys share the same role, but I decide to sack the Flying Grass Dinosaur instead. Hope I don't regret that. Welcome to the team, little guy. Just look at how brave he is, trying to attack people. I doubt he'll get a chance here because I want Heracross to just destroy Sydney all on his own. That is until I get to Houndoom, who might outspeed or even have a Focus Sash. I don't want to risk losing my star Pokemon, so let's give the kill to Regirock. Easy enough. He stays in, loses his Assault Vest, and squashes the Shiftry as well. Crawdaunt hits Swampert, and then Heracross with a really strong Crabhammer just before getting bricked. But then I'm in the same place because Sharpedo could outspeed or just have an Aqua Jet. So out comes Miltank to die to a close combat. Okay, that one actually really hurts. I haven't shown all the Miltank fights, but aside from Heracross, she has easily been my number 2, and it was rough losing her like that. This is tragic. Rest in peace, you wonderful cow. I mean that in the best way possible. Gardevoir survives a waterfall and gets revenge with a Moonblast. Absol also falls to a Moonblast, getting me the last Elite Badge. So what happens now? Champion, probably. But first, it's time for yet another lame strong Pokemon. Who is it this time? Espeon. I love Espeon. This guy deserves the best ball that money can't buy. I make him modest, but he already comes with his hidden ability, so that's pretty cool. I know that Gardevoir and Espeon are both pretty similar, and it may not be the best idea to have them, but I love Espeon, and Gardevoir is okay too. It turns out that Wallace is the champion, which I probably should have guessed. Leading with Shuckle may not have been the best move, but he activates the priority charm, goes first, steals some attack, and still almost dies. That was not very effective. Heracross can survive a liquidation and close combats the Feraligatr. With that Moxie boost, I'm hoping that Rock Tomb takes out the Pelipper, which it does. That was close. Suicune takes a close combat, Omastar a Brick Break, and Cloyster another Brick Break. Last is Blastoise, who falls to a close combat. That's why Moxie is so awesome. Wallace then declares me the champion of Pokemon Emerald Rogue. Psych! There is still another battle I have to do. Who could have guessed? This one is against Steven, who's trying to act like Red at Mount Silver. One last time? I've never battled this guy before in my life. What's he talking about? I obviously lead with my boy Heracross against the Forretress, who survives a Brick Break pretty well, and even a close combat somehow. This is one tanky bug. I am concerned that Steelix has Sturdy, and I don't want to risk my MVP, so let's risk Swampert instead. He takes a few light slams, and responds with Waterfall and Earthquake. Next up is a Mewtwo. He's not Steel type or Rock or anything like that. I swap to Shuckle to see what he can do, and it's a whole lot of nothing. He was not that helpful. Espeon, on the other hand, has great special defense and is immediately crit. Well, that is not so great. At least the Life Orb and Sand are hurting him, because I sure as heck can't. I try to be clever, bringing out Heracross to bait the Fire Blast, forgetting that Mewtwo is in fact a Psychic Pokemon with Psychic moves. So well done me. But Regirock, with his Assault Vest, can survive long enough to finally not kill the Mewtwo. But then the Sandstorm does what I could not. Thank Arceus. This brings out Jirachi, who flinches my rock, so I pivot to Swampert on an Iron Head, to also get flinched, but then respond with Earthquake. Registeel certainly has Sturdy, but Earthquake does a ton, letting Heracross come in and get the free attack boost. And Steven's last Pokemon is revealed to be a Mew, but number 1. Why do you have so many legendaries on your team? With that attack boost, I'm hopeful that close combat will be enough, and it is not. But Mew uses knockoff like a fool. So one more close combat finishes the battle and the run. It may have cost me half my team in the very end, but I was facing a Mewtwo after all, so it's understandable. After the shortest credits in the Pokeworld, I get a crap ton of rewards from Scott. But the real treasure were the friends we made along the way, who have all promptly died. Now that I've beaten the game, there are plenty of new features and things to see in this hub, but I'm just going to end with my favorite, the Safari Zone. This is where you can recatch the Pokemon you've used in previous runs. So, let's use this to show the MVPs of the run. As a runner-up, I have Miltank. She was such a great Pokemon to have because of her bulk, speed, and ability to heal. I'm definitely a much bigger fan of cows now than I was before this run. Shiny Shuckle was the most disappointing member, so he deserves some attention too. Now for the real MVP. Not you. It's Heracross, obviously. This guy carried basically the entire run. Without him, who knows what would have happened? It could have been Dead Cells all over again. And that concludes my first playthrough of Pokemon Emerald Rogue. If you want to see another playthrough, probably with an additional rule like a monotype or something, go ahead and let me know. Until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next region.